access level has recently increased. Excellent.
Go! Go!
Incoming message.
Good evening and welcome to Behind the Scanner. Your hosts for tonight are Andrew Krug from Virginia, Daphne D. from Washington, D.C., and Jorge Pedrero from Mexico City. Tonight's guests are Desmond Hopkins and Jeffrey Sanders. Welcome to the show. The Q&A tool is enabled for tonight's broadcast. Submit your questions throughout the show and we'll ask as many as time allows. If you know someone who would make a great guest, submit their information to us at bit.ly/BTS_guest. Finally, you can watch past episodes and subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/behindthescanner. And now, your hosts of Behind the Scanner.
You're muted, Daphne.
All right. Yes, it's a new year, and no, the little technicality has not been completely resolved. But anyway, Happy New Year, everyone, and good evening. This is episode 34 of Behind the Scanner, and yeah, let's get this show started. So tonight, our first guest is Desmond Hopkins from Johannesburg, South Africa. Welcome, Desmond, and are you awake at this hour?
I'm barely awake. I was going to a checkpoint, dropping it for a minute, and then the coffee kicked in. So I'm good.
I'm glad you got the coffee that we sent you. I was worried about that getting there on time. That's excellent. Well, like Daphne said, thank you for joining us. I know it's 4 a.m. your time. You know, this show, we've already done 34 episodes. You know, would not be successful if it wasn't for agents like you sacrificing themselves. You know, getting up early, staying up late, doing all that to share your stories with the world. So, thank you. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks. Only a pleasure.
All right. So, Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to 2015. With a new year, let's not waste any time, and let's just jump straight into the deep end with our clothes on. For those of you watching, by all accounts, Desmond should not be alive and on this show tonight. He was born with a congenital heart defect, and the procedure to correct it was very new back at the time. In fact, I think, according to him, to this day, he's one of 14 South Africans who have undergone the surgery and lived past the age of 16. So I'm guessing you obviously don't know life any different because you've had this since day one, since birth. But compared to your friends, are things different for you on a daily basis when you hear them talk about their daily routine? You know, are there certain things, activities, for example, that you have to be aware of? And you know, the statistic of living past 16, how old are you now?
Well, I'll be 35 in July. So yeah, 18 years my due date already. I grew up with it. I've known my medical history since day one, and you put it in your mind and you just live life like everybody else. General day-to-day humdrum is the same for everybody else, so I don't really compare myself, and what is major for someone else might not be major for me, but at the end of the day, it's your end. You've got to support them in whatever's dealing with their lives. So it's not a case of comparing, you know, my life story with everybody else. Everybody has their own ups and downs, just to be supposed.
Wow, that's really great perspective, and I've got to say, an incredible statistic. And we're certainly glad to have you with us. That's for sure. So was there a point in your life that you realized the gravity of what you've been through as an infant?
Well, I won't say it was a time that I actually realized it. It was, as I said, growing up with knowing my condition, knowing that I placed friends and everything like that, having to make sure that I keep myself healthy and out of trouble. It kind of it goes par course. I'm looking off the screen because I'm also looking at my notes, trying to remember everything I wanted to say. Yes, it is a funny statistic. Back in the 80s, this was all very new to us, and all the doctors were trying new things and trying to keep people alive. And yeah, it wasn't very successful at the beginning. Nowadays, with the advancement of technology, and they've done it so many times, statistics are a lot better than then. But yeah, didn't even know that I was one of 14 to live past 16 until I was in my 20s, and my doctor just flippantly said, "Oh well, by the way, you were not supposed to be here anymore."
Great.
Wow.
Okay, so then, what was your 16th birthday like? And was it a larger celebration than what your other friends would have celebrated?
Really, it was a birthday like anybody else's birthday. My whole life has been a life of milestones. I was born premature. The doctors need many hours to live, so I'm already, that's it. We're fighting for his life. We're not giving up. You're not telling me this is it. So they performed the operation when I was 6 months old, a little infant, and all through the surgery. They said when I hit adolescence, I'll have to reoperate. When I hit puberty, when I turned 13, no, they're going to have to operate, and so forth and so forth. And every time I would do the specialist, they would say, fine, the next milestone is coming. And every time milestone will come, we'll pass it, and everything is just as normal. And yeah, a birthday was a birthday, whether it was mine or my friends. We just celebrated.
All right. Well, very cool. And do you mind if I ask now what you're doing for a living, and if there are any limitations on it because of your injury, or I'm sorry, your surgery?
Well, I'm in the admin, so I work with computers. I work in an office. I work with people every day. That's basically been I can't active, I can't run around, I can't play sports. So that kind of dictated that. But at the end of the day, knowing my limitations, knowing what my body tells me, I need to be careful. That's all I can. And I just live every day as it is.
I think more people should do that. Live every day, as it is today. That's pretty good advice in general. If I were you, for Halloween every year, I would dress up as the Grim Reaper, just because I have a macabre sense of humor. It just seems like the right thing to do. So at least
that or a zombie.
There you go. I like it. And I would have my birthday cake every year would be hearts, just heart shaped. All right. Well, so when people become aware of life-changing situations, they tend to see the world differently, and like you mentioned, you kind of live life for every single day. You also claim to be a Trivial Pursuit expert. So is your thirst for knowledge, I guess, related in some way to your life experience? You just want to drink everything in because you never know.
Well, completely. And not just that, not being able to be active, not being able to run around with the kids outside playing soccer or rugby. I was in the house, studying books, spending time outside, just absorbed factoids. I'm highly annoying for my friends when we play Trivial Pursuit or 30 Seconds. But hey, that's just how it goes. And with those encyclopedias, I learned about the world, I learned about history, I learned about the world outside. Even though I was inside all the time. And that just grew with me. Still today, I always ask the question, why? Nothing is just given to me and said, this is it, you must just accept it. It's a case of why. Let's investigate, let's see how is that applicable to me in my life.
Speaking of life-altering experiences, I've read that you think Ingress has become the philosophy of your daily life. To quote you, I think is what do you mean by that? Expand upon that for us. Enlighten us.
There we go. Let's enlighten you. I'm not a guy. I know it's just a game. Good cover, Niantic. But first off, Ingress says the world around you is not what it seems. That's right. The world not be as it seems, because you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't take the world by the labels and the boxes that we are given, because there's always a story behind the story. There's always a second part to it. There's a truth behind anything else. My friend always jokingly says, there's his story, there's her story, and then there's the truth. And with that, that's the first thing. And of course, the Enlightened so kind of spoke wanting to help humanity, helping to advance humanity through arts, through culture, through advancement of technology. So that kind of spoke to me. And yeah, philosophy is strong to use, and it is objective. So for me, it's a case of every day, what can I do to make life better for me, people around me, my friends, my family, and while I'm playing Ingress, what's the best to do?
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. To the audience, for those of you watching, remember to submit your questions for our guests by clicking the Q&A button, and we'll be answering them live in just a little bit. If you could please put an @ or a signal to whom you'd like to ask the question for, so that we know to ask the right person. All right, so Desmond, how would you describe yourself as an Ingress player today, and has that changed from when you originally started playing?
Yeah, I think for everybody starting off with Ingress, you load it up as a game and you start just figuring out what it's all about. Because there's not a lot of information out there except if you troll G+ and Facebook and other social media. So I think like else, you're getting to know the game, you're getting out there, you're finding your next portal and you're trying to attack it. So everybody is a lone wolf at the get-go. And then you discover there's more to Ingress than just going to burst, firing a detonator, and capturing a portal. Then you meet different people in your area, other players that have joined the faction that you've chosen, and you start going out socially, and you have flash forms and you have operations going on. Yeah, for me, originally it was a lone wolf kind of game. Also, when I started out, there were only about 20 to 30 portals in my whole entire city, where we now have 2,000 to 3,000 around Joburg. So yeah, it was a sort of growing Ingress on a local level, not just on a player base. So from lone wolf, it moved over to social aspects. It's getting together with people, introducing myself to new players and the community to new players, getting them interested in the game and operations, and showing them how everything works. So training, and now it's a case of for me, play social, so it's a case of going out and playing Ingress when I actually go out. No more 3 o'clock in the morning going to check checkpoints, but yeah, it's still the social aspect for me. Getting out there, getting people involved, and also putting South Africa on the map, which from get-go, that was my goal. Putting South Africa and Ingress in South Africa on the map.
Very cool. Now, was it because you are that kind of player that you were able to Jarvis your resistance nemesis and make them green? Which, very good.
We'll go with that. I had a very good nemesis on their resistance, Smurf by coup d'etat, and we constantly fought. And he would put up fields, I'll take him out, put up fields, that would be the daily exchange. But with the social aspect, we became very good friends. And there was a whole lot of other factors involved in the whole thing, and eventually he decided to flip to basically play with friends and play with social aspect. So yeah, the standing joke is I Jarvis my nemesis. If you can't beat him, join him.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's maybe it's a good thing Jorge is not here, because otherwise he might make me flip just talking to him.
I have that effect on people.
Our next guest might be able to convince him to stay back, but talking about putting South Africa on the map, you guys finally had an anomaly series come to Africa, specifically South Africa, towards the end of Darsana. It was just a secondary event that was on, what, December 13th, I think, in Pretoria.
Yeah, that's right.
What was it like to be an actual site, a location where people are coming together and playing, as opposed to the connected cell that you were?
Well, when I was called by a Ingress player on the morning that it was announced, first of all I was in a daze because, well, I was just woken up very early in the morning, like I am now. And I first said, no, it can't be, you've read it wrong, you were probably connected cell, it was quite for fielding, etc. You read it wrong, and then I looked, and truth, Bob, we were a satellite site. Look, not a primary, it's a satellite, I'll take it any day. From one, my aim has been, within the community and within Ingress, to put Africa on the map. And this was the culmination of 2 years' worth of effort to try and get Ingress on anomaly scale in South Africa. Yeah, we did the connected sails, that were very nice, but we finally had anomaly. And of course, on the day, it was totally new to us, totally strange, but we had fun, we fought like hell, but we did.
You know, speaking of maps and Trivial Pursuit knowledge, people, I don't think, really realize how big Africa is because of the way that maps are actually drawn with Mercator lines and everything and skewing it. It's a lot bigger than it appears on it in globes or maps. So just, I'll throw my Trivial Pursuit knowledge out there.
Good to know. Right.
We're one out of 56 countries, so yeah, it's Africa is very big.
No, and well, it's good to have. It's really interesting to actually meet someone from your continent to find out a little bit more about the play over there. But all right, so tell me the truth, Desmond. In your photos, you wear a lot of green. Now, is that why you picked Enlightened as well originally, because of it fit your wardrobe, or did the faction fit the? Or how did it all fit together, or is it all coincidence, or what?
Yeah, but full of green, and this was just the perfect excuse for me to wear it all. No, seriously. Actually, I like blue. I like a lot of my clothes are blue, and my jackets are blue black. So green came afterwards. I picked Enlightened. So the patriotism, so the feeling at one with the team, you wear the team colors. So whenever I go out to an event and I know I'm representing Ingress and faction, I wear like to wear green. But yeah, that it wasn't a wardrobe choice, that's for sure.
It works for you. Don't change. Don't change. Looks nice. And in fact,
green brings out my eyes. There we go.
It does. I can tell. I can tell by the reflection of the monitor in your glasses that it makes your eyes better. That's nice. So, and I think, did I just call Africa a country? I think I meant continent. That's all right. I need coffee myself. At any rate,
I glossed over it because that's a typical American response. Sorry.
It's so no, I know better, and I was talking about continent. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll pretend it didn't happen. I'll edit it out. So
there we go. There we go.
Talking about Ingress, what's been your most favorite Ingress related experience to date?
Wow, that is a tough one. Well, obviously on top of my mind is getting Anomaly in South Africa and actually being part of it and fighting on the ground. But I have to say my fondest moments was out on a portal bashing run one night. One of the local Smurfs had a couch portal, and it was in a residential complex, and it really accessible. But my old phone, it could drift across the wall, and we could actually, one night, I Javised it. And from somewhere inside the complex, I just heard someone yell, scream on the top of my handle. Verna to Elton screaming, "Will Wheaton!" on Big Bang Theory. So, yeah, that sticks in my mind as one of my favorite moments.
Wow. All right. Well, now you mentioned being a social player and person, and, well, I have mentioned many times, or other people have mentioned that I'm a food person. I definitely to my core. It's an addiction that I have some every day, multiple times a day. Do you have any favorite places that you like to go or food you like to cook after a night of building? I mean, because quite frankly, I'm not very familiar with South African food. And yeah, I'd like to know what do you guys do? Or what do you guys eat?
Well, we would normally get together for a barbecue. We call it a braai, and it's something totally different to a barbecue, but that matters to get into. It's basically, the joke is in South Africa, the South African man's favorite vegetable is steak. So whenever we get together, we braai, and there's lots of meat, lots of vegetables, lots of salad, corn on the cob, which we call millies. So yeah, it's a social gathering, and it's normally around someone's home portal. So we can make it level 8 and the crap out of it. But normally when we have farming runs and we out bashing blue portals, only thing open at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning is McDonald's. So yeah, McDonald's drive-through we come. I've actually called the Junior Cheeseburger and Ingress Burger. So whenever we're going for Ingress Burgers, we all know what we're talking about.
Nice.
I like that. Steak is good. Steak, red meat steak. That's my kind of meal.
It's our favorite vegetable.
Love it. All right. So, ready for some viewer questions?
I see we have one already from Nicholas Moore.
Yeah.
What aspect do you enjoy most of Ingress? Sorry, Daphne, I'm interrupting you.
No, that's quite all right. Feel free to read it.
This is your show. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Ask yourself questions.
Well, this is your show. It's behind the scanner. I'm just a guest.
It's every Ingress player's show, so no, go for it.
That's it. In Afrikaans, we say I'm propiva, very up. So Nicholas Moore asks, what aspect do you enjoy most of Ingress, social gameplay or decoding? Well, that's a tough one. When I first found Ingress, I sent in a request for an invite, which was December 2012, and you had to wait the obligatory 4 weeks for your invite to come through. So that in that month of waiting for Ingress to come open for me, I discovered the NAS project, the tech board by P.A. Chapeau, and got into the decoding. So that is a very fun aspect for me, getting to the behind the scenes aspect of decoding, getting story, and getting into cracking those codes. So yeah, my two favorite pastimes in Ingress, besides playing, is social, getting people out there, introducing Ingress, and then decode the time.
Right. Another question is, what's the most dangerous portal, and what was one of the funniest portals that you've been to or tried to go to?
Crime is a big thing in South Africa, so you've always got to be careful where you go, where you play, what time of the evening you play. So touch wood, nothing happened to me, but we've had agents that have had muggings happen. We've had attempted hijackings with people playing out and about. So it's something always be careful. I wouldn't say dangerous portals. There was one episode where a coup d'etat set up fields from this one specific portal that's on top of a hill, and it's very notorious at night. It's a dodgy area. I say, somehow, this field will not stand because my nemesis put it up, and after dark I ran up the hill, took out the portal, and wanted to run back the hill. I was consumed with getting up, getting down, but anything happens that I didn't notice, obviously after dark, these green glowing things in the bush. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to get attacked by some animal, stray, feral, something. It turns out it was glowworms. So yeah, scary experience. Thankfully, it was glowworms.
Oh wow!
So yeah, dangerous. I don't know. It was at the time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better than like a lion or something, perhaps. Glowworms. Yeah.
A little bit.
Unlike popular sentiment, lions do not roam the streets in South Africa. We get the blues and the parts.
I've seen pictures where there's a guy that has a cheetah or something like that on a chain. So, or hyena, that's what it was. They had a hyena. That was South Africa too.
That happens, but that's normally at the animal park, though.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
All right, actually, here's one question I'm curious about. Have you played in other countries in Africa, and what's the gameplay like? You know, especially, I mean, I have a friend who's in Rwanda, and he was saying that, yeah, basically, I don't know if he was exaggerating or not, but I kind of have a feeling he wasn't, that there were like 3 portals in the entire country.
Well, he's lucky if there were 3 portals. Luckily nowadays there's portals with a lot of Africans and other American and European agents that go into Africa for work purposes, set up and create portals, and they set up experiences. I know Kenya for a fact we've got, I think it's good at the moment, look at the Intel map with a lot of Smurf activity, but it was a green stronghold. Rwanda probably has 3 portals. I personally have not gone outside South Africa since playing Ingress. Previous experiences, I've been out of the country, but unfortunately I didn't discover Ingress back then. It would have been fun to play. We have an agent at the moment in Mauritania, Northwest Africa, and he's absolutely no ports, no interaction except for our local chats to know what's going on. So he's Ingress deprived at the moment. Yeah, slowly but surely it's up there. You know, Botswana, Namibia is quite active. Zimbabwe, even with all their turmoil and issues, they're quite active. Mozambique, Madagascar, Mauritius, it's growing and spreading. And Ingress is absolutely global, even now with Antarctica, with more portals and missions going live there.
I think Alexandria, Egypt, also is a secondary site. A part of this anomaly series coming up.
That's right.
Egypt is
quite excited for another African site.
I know Africa is its own country and all, but you know, Egypt is also a country too.
That's my county down the road. It's funny. Egypt it more falls under the Middle East categories. Even Africa accept that Egypt is probably not part of Africa in that sense, because I know Cairo has had an anomaly before, but truly Africa, yeah, going south of Equator, that was it for us.
How long would it take you to fly from South Africa to Cairo, to Egypt, Alexandria?
It's about a 5, 6, 7 hour flight, depending on the airline you take, or if you stop over in Kenya, or you do a flight.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. All right, and another question. How many people have you recruited to play Ingress?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Sharing things on social media, you don't always get the feedback to say, well, that's because this guy that I started playing Ingress. Personally, friends of mine that have started playing after I started playing, about 3 or 4. But other than that, it's a case of getting people out there, getting involved in Ingress, and then they're just playing whenever they go. I've recently had a guy message me to say, I saw your post on Facebook. I went to Mauritius on holiday, and I opened up my scanner and I started. And he lived in Cape Town. Not even anybody that I've personally met, but yeah, socially, the world's our oyster. I really don't know how many I could have recruited. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it's that time for our BTS tradition, and for better or for worse, we give every guest at the end of their interview 60 seconds to talk about anything that they want, or display any talent that they want, or give a shout out, or pretty much whatever it is they'd like. So, Desmond, whenever you're ready, the minute is yours.
Thanks, Daphne. My amazing lad, I'm still alive. Look, this is just going to be a shout out to the rest of South Africa, Joburg. I know my friends are not watching because it's 4:30 a.m. They're all sleeping. I'm awake and not playing Ingress for a change. Yeah, thanks for giving me this opportunity to be on Behind the Scanner. We always see the show after live, not live, because it's early in the morning for us. And we see the European players, we see the American players talk about Ingress, and there's a great opportunity for us to say, hey, we're also playing, we share the same stories, we have the same things happen here. Yeah, we're all Ingresses, but we're all human, and we're all part of the same global team.
Awesome.
Excellent, Wilson. Well, and good luck on your upcoming anomaly as well. Or anomaly.
Absolutely. Goes proud.
Africa is a continent, not just South Africa is the country. The anomaly is up there. So.
Yeah, we'll support you from all over here.
Well, Desmond, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you and learn more about the play in your area. And thank you for, allowing us to be our American
No problem. Thank you very much.
Knowledgeable selves.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Desmond. Appreciate it. All right. It is that time in the show where we do our code of the show.
Ooh.
So let's see here. If you missed the bonanza last week, well, I guess we were on vacation 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. Joe Philly called in on the Ingress phone, and we threw up like, what, a dozen or so codes. This week, though, unfortunately, we're just back to the normal one. So there it is. It's exciting. I don't know what it is. It's a shareable, limited, redeemable code. It could be good for 20. It could be good for 500 redemptions. Perhaps it's a link amp. Maybe it's a level 1 power cube. Maybe they're Ada viruses, Jarvis viruses. I have no idea.
I think they're LAs.
Yeah, I should actually, I should redeem them. No, I didn't tell people what they are, but I think it's more exciting this way. Jeff will punch the code in, and then he gets like 15 level 1 bursters. So, all right, there we go. Let's take that down. Let's check in quickly as I do this with my man Jose. Jose, are you out there? Nod your head. You ready?
I am ready.
He is ready. He is ready, folks. All right. Daphne, you want to introduce our next segment?
Yes. So no, Jose is not our second guest. He is our member of Operation Essex, and we are so happy to have him back on the show to be part of our weekly truth. Jose Antonio Rey is joining us from Peru and catch us up on what's going on in the Ingress storyline. You have like about 3 weeks worth that you can share with us for the next couple of minutes?
I do.
Right.
I've tried to compress it all, but it's all good. We're good to go.
Right on.
So thanks again for having me over here. It's great to be on Behind the Scanner. It's a great show. So let's go ahead and let me share my screen so we can get started on this. Let's go real quickly through all of this. First, we have a PHP post stating that there are 8 escape missions. These are missions that will appear in different parts of the world, and they will contain clues in order to help Clue liberate from Ada, separate from Ada. So in order to complete these missions, you do not only have to do the mission, but you have to check the portals and draw a glyph with links. So it's a different concept of what's known in missions. If we get to draw the right glyphs at the right time, we're going to be able to separate Clue from Ada. So this is the first part of what's been going on these weeks. So we have another conversation here. This is a leak document, and this is a conversation between Clue and Loeb, and Richard Loeb. So this is a pretty interesting conversation since Clue and Loeb haven't talked in a while because of Ada, and because Ada has been trying to find Loeb, but they have finally talked. It looks like Clue has found a blind spot in Ada, and he's finally able to talk to Richard about what's going on with her and Ada. Now, Clue also shared this post because at the start with the Ada Escape 3 mission, Operation Essex members tried to draw a destiny glyph. So as you can see here, this is the mission start screen. We have the first glyph that was drawn, this an Enlightened glyph, and then you have a resistance glyph. So there it is, an Enlightened glyph and a resistance glyph. But it turns out it wasn't the right glyph. It wasn't the destiny glyph that we were supposed to draw. So we can go over here. Whoops. Okay, here it is. And after a while, we discovered that we needed to draw 3 glyphs at the same time. It was the human glyph divided in body, mind, and soul. So both Enlightened and Resistance agents in Rome got to draw this glyph with links, and we got to the next Ada escape mission that we're currently working on as of now, which is available in Chicago. So if you're in Chicago and want to take a look at the mission, just go for it. Now, we have this other document. This is a leaked document. This is a conversation between Calvin and someone else. We don't know who that someone else is, but he's informing Calvin that we have lost Asmati from our side. Asmati is no longer in our side. Calvin didn't know what was going on, what happened, but there was a call that was made to Asmati before he disappeared, 3 minutes before he disappeared. After a while, we got the Nasir glyph. Stein-Leitman was trying to interpret some glyphs after some conversations and some posts that agents did. And we finally got to discover what the Nasir glyph looked like. So we can try and contemplate different glyphs over here. You can probably see the harm glyph or the clear glyph, but it is not entirely clear how is this glyph formed. Now, as you can see, this is not the current Stein-Leitman, the actual Stein-Leitman template, because it's usually turquoise, but this time it's blue, probably because the Nasir is aligned with the Resistance. Now, after that, we got another episode of the Ingress report. This is a video, leaked video between. It's a conversation between Hank and Jahan. Jahan is a girl that Hank met, and apparently they went to a temple to find an artifact. Jahan revealed herself as being part of the Anti-Magnus, and they revealed that they were holding Asmati in order to get Hank to go to the 13th Magnus nest and probably get the bodies so they can get make the Nasir arrival faster. They want the Nasir to come now. We also saw something interesting. Misty Hannah, who doesn't usually speak on Google Plus, posted about the bad decision that Hank made about leaving the internet and going with Jahan in order to find this artifact, which was the last piece in order to bring the Nasir back. Finally, we're having this document between Yuan Nai and Farlow, which is a conversation. So they had this conversation to see if Farlow wanted to protect Deborah. We knew that Deborah was harmed. She's different now. She has infused herself with the vaccine that she created, but Smith wanted to harm Deborah. So they were asking Farlow to protect Deborah, to be her savior. And finally, we have this conversation between Montgomery and Calvin. So they are trying to discover what's going on with Hank. Where are Jahan and Hank and the Anti-Magnus people going? See what's going on, and we'll probably discover some more of it in the upcoming days. But I'm sure this is not going right for Hank. We're going to see what the next the upcoming Anomaly series is bringing us, but I'm not entirely sure what can happen right now. It's unpredictable.
Wow, that is a lot to digest. I think a woman revealed herself to Hank as well. I caught that. For some reason that's sticking in my mind, which is good. You don't want Hank revealing himself to a woman in a cave. That would be bad. But that's some interesting stuff. I'm intrigued to see where the whole Devra infused with the vaccine thing goes, because they're doing the Nazir line. Is there a what's the right word? A parallel or a similar
dimension
character? Yeah. For the Enlightened.
So probably that was probably Roland Jarvis with the Shapers, but Devra, I probably think is Devra, and we're thinking is Devra. Devra is another Carrie Campbell who is trying to sacrifice herself to stop the Nasir. But we're not sure.
Well, as always, my man, thank you for laying it out so eloquently for us, and yeah, a lot to catch up on and digest. So, Jose, thank you again. All right. Well, before we do our next guest, we've got a special giveaway. So, because of our next guest, this random guy, girl, I'm not really sure, named the Wizard something on G Plus, hit me up and said, "Hey, I've got something to send you if you give it away on air." I said, "Well, tell me what it is first." And they said, "It's some swag. We've got a T-shirt." So there's a T-shirt here that they want me to give away. It's the Resistance Rocks T-shirt. It is blue. It is a size large. I asked how they wanted me to give it away, and they said, this sorcerer said, ask the people to. Now my screen is going all crazy because it doesn't like the blue. Reshare the post for this episode and just pick somebody and give it to them. So if you want a Resistance Rocks T-shirt, which I think this is the Velociraptor, maybe? Is that the Velociraptor? Yeah, no, maybe, perhaps. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a tie-in for Jurassic Park 4 that's coming out. I don't know. But there you go. Resistance Rocks T-shirt. Go ahead and share the episode after this with all of your friends. Let them know to watch BTS. It's a size large. We'll pick somebody at random, and you'll have this rocking rocks shirt to wear. So I put it on, but I'm not really a size large, so I don't think it would fit me very well. But
You may not want the Enlightened cooties either.
true. Well, I don't. You get
Just rub it all
you get my musk, and you get my So hey, maybe to the right person. But anyway, there you go. So Resistance Rocks T-shirt. If you want it, share BTS after the show, and we'll pick somebody and give it to you. If you don't want it, let me know. I don't think we're going to limit this to the U.S. So if you're from Canada or if you're from the country of Africa, feel free to also share it, I guess. So let's see if I can get everything set back there. There we go. Resistance, always messing up my Enlightened green screen. So with that, without further ado, our next guest is from right nearby, actually, from Maryland. Right near Daphne and I. Please welcome Jeff Sanders to the show. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on here. This is very cool. I am so excited, and I love the Resistance shirt. That was definitely a Velociraptor. I'm pretty sure. So that's awesome.
Share the post, and you might
Velociraptor. You know the Velociraptor, the internet meme guy. I don't know. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think that was the Velociraptor.
I like it.
It's a size large though, and I don't mean to offend you, but that might be, I don't know. Maybe you can make a belly shirt out of it.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. That might go to my son. That would definitely work.
There you go. All right. Well, for the record, we know this gentleman. I'm in many hangouts with him. I have no idea how you won the fantasy league with a 6-7 record, but congratulations on your half-point victory over me.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. That was fantastic.
Awesome for him.
I'm not bitter at all.
No. Thank you so much for letting me win. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. The host of BTS and almost every guest has said that Ingress is an amazing social network, and like with our first guests, let's just jump right into it. We'll get all hot and heavy here. You found out Ingress, the social network, how amazing it can be, how people can just open up their hearts last year by the Fields for Jason hashtag. So people may know you, Agent Power Up, by that. Can you explain in your own words what that was, kind of the effect it had on you, why Ingress rocks because of it?
Absolutely. It goes back to I had a 7-year-old son who I lost back in October of 2009. Was completely unexpected. He was a special needs kid, and he didn't have. It was a unnamed genetic syndrome that he carried, so he was just Jason. That's just how he was. And you know, he didn't have anything life-term threatening, so uh, to lose him was an absolute shock to me and my family, and it was very devastating. And you know, he had a lot of people wanted to know how he passed away, and he actually aspirated, and I tried to revive him, and I just I couldn't. But you know, after going through something that was so incredibly traumatic, and, you know, and losing him, as you can imagine, times around like his birthday, holidays, around the time that we lost him, those are melancholy times in our house. Um, you know, it's kind of a mixed thing. It's hard to really describe the feelings that go along with that, but basically, it was on his birthday in 2013, on June 26th, when I had noticed that there were a lot of people out there who were doing field art. I was pretty new to this Ingress game and thought it was just amazing, and you know, I had this idea of possibly creating like a J field, but then I'm like, well, why stop there? You know, this could be done everywhere. How amazing would that be? So it's kind of a last minute thing, but I really didn't know how to reach out to the rest of the world. You know, I like I said, was pretty new, but there's this guy, Nicholas Moore. I think a couple people may have heard of him, and he and I had become pretty tight. We became good friends, and basically I shared with him kind of my thoughts or visions about having this kind of tribute art put up there for my son, just as a remembrance. And I shared a little bit about his life, and you know, Nick rolled with it from there. He got it out to all the channels that, you know, I don't know how he already knew everybody at that point, but he shared it with people, and I was just blown away. My family was as well. You know, people started creating all these fields. You know, jump ahead a year, I had no idea that this was going to continue. I thought it was a one-time thing. But what ended up happening was that Nick was actually interviewed on Decode Ingress, and he had mentioned my son's story again. He had shared that and brought it to people's awareness, and unbeknownst to me, he had sent it out again to, you know, let's start doing these fields. But this time, it was global, and it was unbelievable. Just agents from all over the world just showing this amazing compassion. Didn't matter what faction you were. It was just doing tribute fields for my boy in the shape of J's, or dropping inventory in the shape of a J. And it was really unbelievable. One of them that I just want to mention here that was just blew us away. In Israel, they covered all of Israel in a giant cross-faction field that was like a blue shield with a green J in the middle, and it literally brought tears to our eyes just to see that, you know, in the thing that they wrote to us, they said, you know, we've never had a cross-faction event here before, but this brought people together. And I heard that from people all over, you know, whether it was Malaysia or the Philippines, in Canada. I mean, just everywhere, people were doing these things, and it was unbelievable, and it really left a lasting impression on my wife and myself.
That's an amazing story, man. I one father to another. First off, I'm sorry for your loss. I can't even imagine, but it's good to know that there are strangers out there that, regardless of anything, you know, political affiliation, green, blue, that, you know, we're all human and we can come together. So
Absolutely.
very, very cool story to hear. And in addition to the Fields for Jason, though, there was a collection set up that was also spearheaded by my nemesis, Nicholas Moore, to purchase a headstone for your son's gravesite. After 5 years of having a temporary marker, your son's name wore off, correct? He put together a collection. Many people, myself included, donated to it so that we could get you a headstone, a grave marker form. You know, when you saw that memorial bench, is what I think you ended up getting. You know, that was essentially purchased by internet strangers. from a gaming community of all things. What was your reaction like the first time?
Nick really was the catalyst, but there were so many other people who were involved. Ruth Shepard, Samantha Mancini, Ryanne Fultz. I want to mention a few people who just played such a big role, and Robert Vaughn, who actually created the nested J or the JJ patch that went out. I think that we have these goals in our life, and my number one thing on my life's checklist was to get a suitable headstone for my son, and it took a long time to do that. As you said, it was 5 years that I had a temporary marker there, and literally his name wore off, and I can't express to you what it's like to go on your birthday, your son's birthday, and see that he's the grave of the unmarked grave, and I felt like a heel. It blew me away, and when I shared that with people, I was overwhelmed to see that actually, I'll be honest, I didn't even know that they were doing it. I had no idea that they had started something to put together a collection for me. Right after my son had passed away, I actually lost my job of 8.5 years. Timing was not real good on that. That was a pretty dark time. And so I never really had the money put aside. I had to invest it in starting my own business. I never had the money to just go out and buy a headstone. I never had $3,000 just sort of sitting around, and I certainly couldn't do it on credit when I didn't have a job at that point. So this was one of those things I just wanted to see done, and the emotions certainly flowed for my wife and I, and the debt of gratitude that we had for this entire community, I don't think I could say enough. I really don't.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, and I'm glad you got it. Which, if you watch back the episode tonight, when we post it online, you'll see I put up the pictures that you've got on your G Plus account of the actual bench and you standing by it, so people can kind of have a reference as to what we're talking about. But that's really cool, wouldn't it? That's an amazing story, man. All right. Wow, where to go from here?
Yeah. It's really incredibly touching, and I really thank you for sharing that, because you are part of local community, and there is a little bit of history involved with that I being different factions, we hear different things, we hear different sides, and I think that we eventually had a conversation about it, and I'd like for others, especially Enlightened in our community, who may not have known, but because before this memorial was built, there were a couple of portals that were essentially also used as a memorial that were kept at Blue Level 8s. And way back then, there were some issues whenever other players, whether or not they were aware of the situation, but if they played because they see a Blue 8 portal, they'd smash it down. And if it were ever conveniently located in my area, or I happened to be passing through, I would have easily been one of them. And there were some confrontations, and some got very heated, and there were some huge rifts that even went into when the DC had its anomaly event. And granted, I believe that the majority of the players that were involved in those rifts no longer play. But can you please share your own perspective of the situation? Because I think you may or may not have been aware, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Sure. Let me step back and just say that back when I submitted it, the two portals that are in question one is called the Healing Garden, and it is a place in our community where people will basically buy a memorial for children who've been lost in our community, people who've lost their sons or daughters. And inside of that little place that's set apart. There's also a statue there, a bronze statue, and it's the Healing Garden Children at Play, and it depicts two children playing on a swing that goes to the sky. It's never ending, like they'll play forever. And I thought that they were very appropriate as a kind of memorial type thing for my son, something outside of the game, not really something strategic, not something for fielding off of. And I just thought, this is something that really means a lot to me. Now, I also realized, and I want everybody to really know that I recognized it was a game. I could never claim ownership of these. There was nothing that I could do to say, hey, stay away, So what really happened was, and some of the contention that came as a result of that, was that there were some people who came, like you said, who really just didn't know about them. And, I love my faction. I love the fact that it meant enough to some of the people in my area that they wanted to defend that they went out there and they were ready to just, get away, But, that really went against what I really desired these to be. I never wanted it to be a place of arguments, fights. I sat down and talked with the people who had really got into this kind of scrum here, and I said, look, I just want you to know that this is what this means to me. I recognize that if you choose to come and attack this portal, it's okay. I recognize it's a game. However, that would be so cool if you didn't. I would love to be able to keep it as a level 8. I will say that these two portals were the only level 8 blue portals on the eastern shore of Maryland, because I live in Enlightenedville. There is no blue around here, and so these were the first two that we ever had. And I recognize that level 8 portals, although people love to attack them, they're also something that is visible from as far out as you scan out on the intel map. And so they were a beacon. For me, they were a virtual beacon. And, I wanted to clear the air real quickly and let people know that, I recognize what they are and what they're not. So.
No, I appreciate that very much. And, care to share what that's like now?
Actually, at this moment, they're green. But that's because of you. So, actually, now, usually the only people who take them out are people who are getting me back for taking out their guardians. But no, honestly, I have more respect for the Enlightened around here than you could possibly imagine. There is absolutely no way in the world that I could have kept those portals 8s for as long as I did without them. So many people, and I should probably mention my name, but who actually told people when they came to town, please, whatever you do, just leave those alone. It had more to do with the Enlightened keeping it up than it did me and the Resistance, to tell you the truth. So.
Now I know Scuba Nickel, Steve is probably one of those guys, right? I would imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, yeah, absolutely.
He's kind of egotistical as it is, so let's not get his head any bigger. Steve is not a very no. That's cool. That's really cool that the green guys up there did that. Help with the healing process and everything, because I can't even imagine how difficult it must be, and that the Ingress community at large had a hand in helping heal and giving you a little bit of peace. That's amazing.
And especially the Cronells, who Jamie and his wife Krista, they are the local agents who everybody knows, Life on the Shore and Noella the Light, and actually he's the guy who brought me into the game. So ironically.
Excellent. Well, kind of shifting gears a bit, but keeping on the topic of internet communities, I guess. You also met your wife online, but you did it before dating sites really existed. So how did Cupid sort of get you guys in their crosshairs? Were you like on a bulletin board somewhere and send her some ASCII text message or something? What happened?
It's kind of funny. back in the days when internet dating, like you said, didn't even exist, and it was kind of creepy. You didn't really want to meet people because you had no idea who they really were behind their name. It was actually in a Yahoo chat. It was a Yahoo Christian chat where I met my wife. I lived 3,000 miles away, and in California, and we started talking, and I'll tell you, it was like we were cut from the same cloth. We would have the longest conversations, and it was pretty amazing. But it was kind of this old-fashioned sort of thing, like writing letters back home from overseas, because we never met face to face at that point. We just continued to talk through the internet and on the phone, and it was really a love story. And I crossed the world for her, and I'd do it again. So.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Lots of good stories tonight. Wow.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we're probably going to run a little bit long, but these are captivating stories, so everybody just sit tight, write it out.
Yeah. All right. So I've heard a rumor about you that you are also a semi-pro pool player. What's the largest prize you won and the coolest trick you can do?
Well, first of all, you just ruined any pool action I could ever get out there. I just want you to know that. Nobody's going to play me now. I've won several tournaments. Probably the largest added was a $5,000 added tournament. A lot of my other stuff, like I said, misspent youth. I played a lot of different people, and I think that more of my money came that way. And as far as trick shots, a lot of it's just setting it up, but I have a few that actually use 2 tables connected by pool cues, and I'll have to do it sometime. I'll make a little video, and I shoot a ball, and I make it hop up and go off the edge of the table and go down a couple of cue sticks, and ultimately knocks in another ball on the other table. It's pretty cool.
That's crazy, man.
Fun stuff.
I heard a rumor about you too, but we won't go there. We'll save that for another time.
Yeah, was it Yes After Dark?
Yeah, exactly.
Special edition, subscription only. All right, so for everyone watching, remember to submit your questions for our guest by clicking the QA button, and we'll be answering them live in just a little bit. All right.
Let's stick with the interesting facts, because you are a man with a million interesting facts. So, is it true that at one point in time you worked for Warner Brothers? I'm assuming the studio, not, I don't know, some burger joint. Can you tell us what you did with that? What was that all about?
I actually worked for Warner Elektra Atlantic Records. When I met my wife, I was actually traveling around the Northwest. I had a 9-state territory, and I was fortunate enough to be outside sales for them, and I'd get to help setting up large events at like the Gorge in George Washington, and just an amazing time, just a great gig. I was pretty fortunate, and sure enough, I was working for WEA. That was a lot of fun.
Good times. We'll have to swap roadie stories, because for about 3 years I was a roadie as well for a couple artists. So
nice.
I think that's also a Behind the Scanner After Dark episode.
Cool.
I'm gonna have to tune into that.
All right. Well, we've kind of danced around it a little bit, so let's just sort of shift our focus to the game. Ingress swag. When is enough, and how much do you have?
I don't think there is enough. I think I need another job, and I own just about everything you can. I have probably about 50 patches now, different patches, pins. I have lanyards. I have shirts, sweatshirts. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I'm nuts. I get these packages, and I even forget what I ordered. And my wife will bring me like the package, goes, here's another one, and I open it up, I'm like, surprise, I don't even remember ordering this. I've really got a problem.
$1,000. There you go, $1,000. You can have the Joe Philly drone net.
Oh, swag.
He's got me on speed dial. It calls up, and there you go.
Is that some drool going on over there? Wait a second. A basket or something.
All right. Well, what's the furthest distance that you've had to drive to play Ingress, and where was it to?
I've been trying to think about where the furthest place was. On a regular basis, because of where I live, I have to drive between an hour and 2.5 hours to really farm level 8 gear most of the time. I regularly will do a 3 to 5 hour drive just there and back, not to mention the time that I spent actually farming. But I mean, I've gone to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and down to Virginia Beach and Richmond, Virginia. Gettysburg. I mean, I've traveled all over the place playing this game. Nowhere's really too far, especially if I'm taking down a field.
I like that. That's good.
All right. Well, all right. So you commute a lot. You have all these other activities. But I mean, how do you have spare time for all of that?
I don't. I run my own business. I'm active in the church that I'm a part of. Obviously, I play Ingress far too much. Just ask my wife. And, you know, I just try to balance it as well as I can and make time where I can. And I don't have a lot of spare time. I don't sleep a lot either, so that helps.
Can't imagine. I think that's how you dads must do it. All right, so we are going to go with your questions. This one was actually stated offline because I think this viewer happened to be having a little trouble with the Q&A button. But he was mentioned earlier, but Scuba Nickel, he was mentioning and actually wanted to learn a little bit more about your passion for craft beers.
Oh,
and rare craft beers, is that right?
Absolutely. And Steve, we're going to have to get together again, buddy. I can't wait. I do. I'm on a couple of different forums for craft beers, and I had the good pleasure of getting the #1 rated beer in the entire world and sharing one with Steve a few weeks back. It's this stuff out of Vermont called Hetty Topper, and it's hard to get, but I was very, very fortunate. You know, it's an interesting thing about Ingress. It makes the world a lot smaller, and somehow you can start getting things that you couldn't get before. So I've been a fan for a long time.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Any particular craft beers that you recommend in the local area?
In the local area, in D.C., there's a company that you can buy their beer, but you can't get it in Maryland. It's Founders, great brewery. They put out some seasonal things that are unbelievable. There's quite a bit out of Chicago, Illinois that you have to go out on a Black Friday when they release it. From Bourbon County, from Goose Island Brewery, and they put out a couple of stouts every year that are unbelievable. So that's not exactly local, but you can get them if you're willing to stand in line.
Good to know. Wow. All right. All right. Another offline, well, not necessarily a question, but a statement from one of our other local Enlightened players. Lewis Naylor wants to let you know from Landover, another city in Maryland, you are a big symbolic part of the social aspect of the game, and he means that very complimentary. Yeah, like your earlier statements about good dude. So, yeah.
Why are all these people hitting you up in private messages? Don't they know how the QA tool works?
You know what? Let's not have that be a reflection about our local Enlightened team.
Oh, Lewis. I see the chat too. Yeah, we'll have to talk after this.
Yeah. All right. Another question. Oh, all right. Putting this off on you. Most dangerous portal and the funniest portal you've tried to go to or have been to.
The most dangerous portal. I think when we first started playing in Y Mills, which is pretty close to where I live, there's this night watchman there's a mill out there, and this guy must be in his late 80s, early 90s, and boy, anytime you went over there and it was after dark, he would immediately come up to your car and, who are you and what are you doing here and what do you want? And so that was pretty dangerous, I guess. he would definitely come after us. As far as the most, did you say fun or funny?
Funny, you know what? Either or both.
As far as fun, taking the ferry out to Tangier Island in the middle of the Chesapeake was awesome. Reception out there was horrible, so I think that I would need a sat phone next time. But that was definitely a good time. Lots of fun. Funniest portal? You'd have to think about that one. I'm not sure.
All right. And continuing on the theme about like swag and wardrobes and whatnot, have you ever coordinated your wardrobe and worn blue on purpose to an Ingress event?
Always. Every time. Absolutely. I sport the team colors every single time, from head to toe. I even went out and bought some bright blue shoes just so it was from head to toe.
I can vouch for this. I saw him in Baltimore at the Anomaly up there. He had his game face on. He didn't want to shake hands or say hello. He just kind of gave me that growl. Go, leave, back. And, I'm playing. It's Anomaly Day. Leave. So.
Funny.
All right. Well, like we do for all our guests, it is now your turn to have your 60 seconds to talk about, share about, anything you want. So feel free to start anytime you like.
All right. Honestly, what I'd want to do is just shout out to all the agents from really around the world, both factions, all of you guys who have taken the time to create fields, to support my family, to buy the JJ patches, to be a part of that. You have absolutely made an indelible mark in my life and my wife's life, and I'm just thankful.
Thanks for coming on, man. Sharing your stories. We really appreciate it. It's the human aspect of the game as to why we do Behind the Scanner. Just showing people that, folks are fathers, folks are brothers, folks are moms and aunts and uncles, and they're family. They're real people out there. So you don't have to, when you're outside the game, you can take the game face off and interact and drink craft beers with each other, which I'm really jealous. I'm going to have to go find that now. So. Well, again, thank you for coming, and thank you, Desmond, earlier for staying up.
Yeah, it was absolutely great having you, Desmond. If you are still, you are still up. Fantastic having you both. And everyone, thank you so much for watching.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Watch us next week. Happy hacking.
Desmond, are you still actually? You are still up.
I am like.
He's gotta go to work now. Man, he got up early.
No way.
Shaved. He's leaving for work. He's cutting out.
Yeah, in an hour I'm getting up for work. Yeah, that's beautiful restart.
Crew, let's get together and go out for that beer, buddy.
Absolutely.
And Daphne, please.
I'll send you some African kids.
Yes.
It might take a while.
All right.